generation. You have to be careful when you start saying, and so well, he wasn't as good as mine. Well, he wasn't as good as Magic. Every generation you get that. You begin to sound like that old man that lives down the street, and every time you walk on his yard, and you even walk by his yard, he's on the porch, and he's got that little crooked finger. He's like, "Get off my lawn! Get off my lawn!"
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on joynetradio.com.
Get off my lawn!
It's time for the weekly sports page with the dynamic David Coleman. Stay tuned for thrills, chills, and yes, spills. Oh yeah, and a whole lot of other great stuff. Call 855-525-5683. Tweet your questions at Dynamic Sports PA or Facebook. Drop a line on Dynamic Weekly Sports Show. Sit back, relax, and groove while Dynamic drops sports in your ear hole. Now here's Dynamic David Coleman.
Boom! Good morning and welcome to the weekly sports magazine. I am Dynamic Dave. I'm here every Saturday morning talking sports. 855-525-5683 is the number. If you want to call up and talk to me, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Sports is in the air. Sports is everywhere. We'll certainly go back and do a little recap on the idiocy of the St. Louis, or I should say the Arizona Cardinals. The recap of the draft. These idiots running around talking about who got a good grade. It's kind of like horse racing. Tell me when they finish. Or I should say, tell me how they finish. Right here on the Weekly Sports Magazine. It's kind of like recruiting. Tell me how they finish. Okay? So... I don't want to hear any of this mess about, oh man, we got an A or a B or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter at this point. It really doesn't. Okay? So we'll get into all of that this morning. Of course, before we do anything, we got to do what we do every Saturday, right? We got to speak. We got to be proper. By the way, I am streaming on YouTube. I'm also streaming on Twitter. Well, not Twitter yet, but I guess we'll be streaming here in a moment. And of course, we're streaming on Facebook. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. I'm thinking next Saturday. Not sure if I'm going to be here. I'm feeling a birthday coming on, okay? I am. I'm feeling a birthday coming on, okay? So, I'm thinking about going out of town next Saturday, okay? Because I got a birthday coming on. Did I say I have a birthday coming on? I think I did. So, I'm thinking I'm not going to be here next Saturday. And Monday. Take my birthday off. Celebrating the big day. Okay? Hey, Robert. Thank you for joining the show. So I'll let you know about all of that next week. But in the meantime, in between time, Connie Converse, good morning. How are you doing, girlfriend? Let me just give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today. There was a marathon NBA game last night. Believe it or not, I think it ended like at 1:35 this morning. I kid you not. You know why I know? I was up. I have these weird sleeping habits. We'll also talk about some of the NBA wannabe leaders. You know, leadership is tough, folks. It's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. And some of these people are realizing just how hard it is. It ain't just saying, hey, just because you got the best shot, just because you score the most points, that you're a leader. Leadership is tough. So we're going to talk about that this morning as well. And, you know, more on the college sports scandal. And notice I said college sports scandal. I didn't say college basketball or college football. I said college sports scandal. Yeah. And we're going to ask the question, why is Dabo Swinney disappointed? And it's Derby Day. Woohoo! It just doesn't have the feel as it used to. And I'm beginning to wonder, is it time for this sport to say goodbye? Now, look, I know there are millions of dollars involved in this sport. I understand all of that, you know. But I'm beginning to wonder if this sport has outlived its usefulness. You know, I don't know if you've been following sports or horse racing a lot, but at Santa Anita in California, they've basically started, they've had 4 or 5 horses to die this year. You don't care? Maybe you don't. I understand. But this is a sport that needs to be over with. Look, don't get me wrong. I love horse racing. We'll get into all that. Okay? It's just a tradition. Other than a tradition, do you care? I don't think people do. And I'll tell you why coming up here in just a few minutes. All right, so that's what we've got there on the agenda today for the Weekly Sports Magazine. Of course, your comments are welcome. You can hit me up on Facebook. You can post your comments there. You can post your comments on Twitter at Weekly Sports Mag. We'll be up on that in just a moment. Or you can go out to YouTube and post your comments there. Okay? So that's what's on the agenda today. It's called the Weekly Sports Magazine. I'm Dynamic Dave on joinnedradio.com. I got to speak to folks now. We know, we do this every Saturday. I don't get to speak to a lot of people all the time, but I will speak to some today, as we do every Saturday. So, good morning, Little Rock and the surrounding areas. The West End, the South End, the East End, North Little Rock, Lone Oak, Sherwood, Jacksonville, Conway, Carlisle, all of you all that are in the listening area, where really is everybody. That's why I speak to folks all over the country, because we have a broad listening area. Shout out to where you are. Are you in Little Rock? You in Nashville? Shout out to Nashville, Tennessee. Put on a great show last week for the NFL draft. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I understand the traffic was a booger bear. Woo, I'm glad I wasn't there. Okay, almost came up. I'm planning to make a trip to Nashville here in the coming days. I'll let you all know. All right. Gerald Park, appreciate you joining me. Fahim, appreciate you joining me. Good morning and welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Speaking of Nashville, what's up, Cash Vegas? Memphis. Shout out to my son, Akili Coleman. He's in town for a little while. I'm not mad at him. You know? He don't want to spend any time with Dad. Well, maybe a little time. I drove to Memphis the other day and had lunch and we hung out for a little while. But, when you're a young cat, a young brother like he is, he's got it going on. He's a good-looking guy. Women are crazy about him. He's about to become a captain in the Navy. This brother got it going on. So he's basically, the world is his oyster right now, and he's about to pry it open. So he's traveling around this area trying to see friends and hang out. So at least Dad got a couple of days with him. So shout out to Akili Coleman in Memphis, or he may be in Murfreesboro by now. You know, you never know where he is. Of course, he resides in Hawaii. So shout out to all the folks in Hawaii and appreciate you all taking good care of me while I was over there. Had a great time. Planning to go back in October. Okay? Shout out to since I already started on the West Coast, let's shout out to all the people in Los Angeles, Dr. Rosie Milligan and her crew, Black Writers on Tour. Going up the coast, let's shout out to Blackberry in Oakland, California, and Rodessa and Idris. Good morning and welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Lisa Madden in Seattle, Washington. Good morning and welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Appreciate y'all joining me. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now coming down to Phoenix, and let's shout out to Glenn, Phil, John Collins, all you guys in Phoenix. Good morning and welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Lillian Porch, good morning and thanks for joining the show. It's called the Weekly Sports Magazine. I'm Dynamic Dave. We'll get into some sports in just a moment. I'm just being proper right now. I'm speaking to everybody. Okay? Shout out to Corey Norwood in Denver, Colorado. Welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Shout out to all the folks from Little Rock who live in Texas now. Okay? All y'all. Whether you're in San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, or any of those little podunk towns in between, good morning and welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Half of the people from Magnolia, where I went to college, are in Texas as well. So shout out to all you Effie and Sophie and all you ladies down there. Welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Okay? Shout out to my baby girl, Sierra Coleman, who's in Chicago. Welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. You will hear from both of my children before it's over with. All right? They will make an impact on this nation. I promise you. Okay? Larry Ridley in New York City, good morning and welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Dr. Doreen Lowry, good morning and welcome. In Philadelphia, by the way. Welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Everybody anybody that's in Louisiana, let's say bon ton roulette, baby. Let the good times roll. And welcome to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Hope y'all are sharing this video. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, as I said. We're certainly going to talk a little bit about the NBA marathon that took place last night. We'll get into that. We'll also talk about the college sports scandal. You know, it wouldn't be a scandal if you all quit trying to hoard that money and start paying these kids. Okay? That's what the bottom line is on that. Oh, and by the way, yeah, we do have the best old school bumper music in the universe. I need you to go out and download the Joinet Radio app. That way you can hear all of the audio. A lot of the audio that we do is not posted on the social media. So make sure you all go out and check that out. Okay? Now, we're going to go out and take a quick break. I'm trying to get us up on Twitter right now. I don't know. Twitter be tripping, man. It be tripping. So, we're going to go out and take a quick break. When we come back, we will get into some of the headlines today. You're listening to the Weekly Sports Magazine. I'm Dynamic Dave on JoinetRadio.com.
Are you drowning in debt becoming unmanageable? Are you struggling to make ends meet? It might be time to consider bankruptcy options. Call me at 501-374-1448 and let me provide you with the professional legal guidance and help protect you from foreclosure, harassing bill collectors, repossessions, wage garnishments, and more. I have a proven record of serving clients just like you for over 20 years. I'm conveniently located downtown Little Rock at 323 Center Street, Suite 1020. Call today for a free, no obligation consultation. 501.
What's up, LaFell? How you doing, man? Appreciate you joining the show.
501-374.
Appreciate it. Hope y'all enjoy this. Oh, I gotta get some funk up here, man. What I want to play today?
This is attorney Danielle Walker from the Walker Law Firm, and let me help you.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas in Clark County since 1966. At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral is a celebration of life and legacy, so the entire staff takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional services they provide. Cremations, funeral planning, burial policy, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better. Call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we're needed. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
Fill your home for the holidays with Bedrock Mattress and More. Bundle and save for every room in your home. Package deals just in time for the holidays. Our first bundle starting at $598. Perfect for a dorm room. Bundle deal 2, only $15.99. Enough to fill your first apartment. And fill your home with our third bundle starting at only $24.99. Come get these deals while they last. Special pricing going on now through the end of the year. Celebrate this holiday season with something.
What's up, Chris? Appreciate you joining me.
3901 South University in Little Rock.
Hi, I'm attorney Theodore Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matters. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710. In
Here we go. Here we go.
Attorney Theodore Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
Ow! No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Ow! Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, all right. Yeah. Yeah, a little knee deep this morning. We're doing the Funkadelics and George Clinton all morning long. That's going to be our special guest group today. You got a George Clinton or a Funkadelic group song you want to hear? Holla at the black man. All right? Because we're going to party like it's 1999 up in this Scound Booger. See, this takes me back to my college days. Green Hall. On the yard at Green Hall. Kicking it like a fat rat, old school style. Or kicking it at the commodity house. Yeah. Yeah. All right, whoo. Oh, man. A little Funkadelics this morning. We're going to kick it back like a fat rat, old school style, all morning long with the Funkadelics. We're still trying to get this Twitter feed up, man. I don't know what's going on with it. Let me try again here because we want to get Twitter up. We want to include Twitter. We're streaming all this stuff now. We're doing YouTube, we're doing Twitter, we're doing Facebook. We're doing all of that stuff today, okay? So from this point on, we'll be trying. And we do that during the week as well when we're talking about when we do Black Focus as well. So I'll let you know when the Twitter feed gets up. We need response from all of them. So if you all do me a favor, just click on all that stuff. if you don't mind. Just do a like. Tell somebody. Okay? Tell somebody. Will you do that for me? Okay, so let's start with the headlines today. The big headline last night, obviously. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about the Boston-Milwaukee game too. But the big headline, and the reason I was up, I actually took a nap earlier in the afternoon. Didn't plan on it, but you know, what I've learned as far as taking naps today, what I've learned as an old guy, that when you get tired, when your body say, hey, sleep, every chance I get, I do what my body says. Okay? That's just how I do it. Okay? That's just how I do it. So I ended up taking a nap earlier in the day, and I ended up waking up about 9 o'clock. So I was up until like 3 o'clock this morning. Now, some of you all who follow my feeds on Facebook, you're probably saying, well, hell, you always up, because, yeah, you do get posts from me all times of the night. I'm being honest with you, because I am up all times of the night. So that's kind of how that goes. But I got to watch the entire game. Okay? The entire game of Portland and Denver. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going to see too many other great NBA games. Now, unfortunately, it was on so late. It was West Coast time, number one. And then, of course, it went into quadruple overtime. Quadruple overtime. And at one point, I thought it was going to go to a fifth one. But quad overtime last night. And it just went back and forth. And it ended up with the Nuggets losing 137-140 to the Portland Trail Blazers. I know a lot of people C.J. McCollum last night, oh my God, he was unbelievable. Damian Lillard didn't have a great game, and I say that, but he still had 28 points. But he was 10 for 24, didn't shoot too well at all. If it wasn't for C.J. McCollum, I don't know what the Trailblazers would have done. And then Rodney Hood comes off the bench and he's lighting them up. And where was this Rodney Hood at Cleveland last year? Okay? Where was this Rodney Hood at Cleveland? And I heard someone say, well, it was, LeBron. No, it had nothing to do with LeBron. Rodney Hood was hitting shots last night that he was missing while he was in Cleveland. Because all he was doing was spotting up. He hit a clutch three-pointer last night where he faked and was all bottom. Okay? LeBron was setting him up in Cleveland and he couldn't bust a grape. But last night he was hitting some clutch shots. C.J. McCollum ends up with 41 points last night. 16 of 39 shooting. 4 of 11 from three-point. Just lighting it up. Damian Lillard, 28 points. 6 and 8. Eric Cantor, 18 and 15. He was playing with a bad ankle, a bad shoulder. Now, Nurkic has already been, he's already out for Portland. They can't afford to lose Cantor at all. But, look, you got to give, I said Eric Cantor, I meant Enes Kanter. You got to give your hats off to Enes Kanter. The guy plays pretty good basketball, okay? He's pretty good. Now, he's not the phenom that everybody thought he was going to be when he came into the league, which I knew that. But he's turned out to be a pretty solid NBA basketball player. Okay? So Harkless was also 15 and 10, double last night. Cantor 18 and 15, a double as well. They had some, what can you say? That was some great shot making last night. You look at the Nuggets. Now, if you don't know the Joker, if you don't know who that is by now, look, I got to take my Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic, I should say. He's talking about the real deal. I mean, he played his butt off last night too. And for a big man, and with that body type, man, dude is just I mean, he's sick. He's 7 foot, 250 pounds, 24 years old. I'm trying to remember, and he reminds me a little bit of Vlade Divac, but he's better than Divac. Okay? Y'all remember Vlade, right? He's much better than Divac. I mean, he's a great passer. What makes him better than Divac is because he's a great scorer and a great shooter. Last night, he was a beast. You got to give him credit. 33, 18, and 14, a triple-double last night. Jamal Murray, the Kentucky grad or Kentucky, played at Kentucky, 34 and 9. They were going at it, man. I tell you what, Will Barton coming off the bench, former starter for the Nuggets, 22 and 9, hitting clutch shot after clutch shot. It got to a point last night, I didn't know who was going to win. In fact, I don't have a dog in the hunt. I guess I'm kind of partial to Damian Lillard in a way because the young brother has his head on right. He could go anywhere. Look, nobody talks about Damian Lillard. No, because if you don't really follow the game, you won't know how good he is. You're probably just discovering Damian Lillard. This boy is a bad boy. And here's the other thing that I like about Lillard. Damian Lillard didn't come out of a big-time college program. You see, so this myth that you have to go to a big college in order to be successful, you have any idea where Damian Lillard played basketball? It will shock you. By the way, last night, he comes down and hits it was about a 35-footer. And he just jacked it up like I'm going to hit this. The same that he did in the last series with Oklahoma City. That shot where Paul George was talking about, that wasn't a good shot. See, here's what happened with Damian Lillard. By the way, shout out to Oakland. That's where he's from. So last year, they lost in the first round, and everybody was double teaming. So he would get to the top of the key, and the game plan was, as soon as he got across the timeline, they would double team him. Okay? They would double team him. So they over the off season, this is why I tell people you don't get good during the season. Your game betters when in the off season. Hey Latrice, how you doing, girlfriend? Chris Taylor, how you doing? Your game gets better in the off season. How does it get better in the off season? That's because you work on stuff that you need to work on. That's why it boggles my mind when a guy can't shoot a free throw. That tells me that in the off season, you didn't work on your free throws. If you work on your free throw shooting like you work on your jump shot, because I'm going to tell you, if you've been playing basketball as long as some of these guys have been playing, there is no reason why you should not be at least 75% at the free throw line. But the reason you're that way is because you don't work on your free throw shooting. It's a technique. But Damian Lillard decided that he and his workout staff told him that, look, you need to incorporate in your game a longer shot. So that way you can take that three-pointer before you get to the timeline before they double team you. That's where that shot comes from. So when Paul George claims that, that's a bad shot, Paul George don't know what the hell he's talking about. And that was proven. He hit another shot like that last night. Although he was struggling at times, 10 for 24 is not that good. But he did come up and hit some clutch shots last night. I mean, it was clutch shot after clutch shot. This is part of the reason that I enjoy the NBA. It has some issues as well. But these guys ball. And the playoffs, man, now I know the NBA, by the way, the ratings are down 15%. from last year. Why do you think that is? There really hasn't been any. Look, if I had to say who is the compelling person in the NBA during the playoffs this year, you know who I'm going to say it is? It's not Kyrie. It's not Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's not the Golden State Warriors. It's Damian Lillard. The most compelling person in the NBA playoffs this year. You can disagree all you want, but if you've been following this young man, and especially during this playoffs, Damian Lillard is the most compelling person in the NBA playoffs this year. Now, he's not LeBron James, but he's definitely compelling. Head on straight, smart, intelligent, a shot maker, a big shot taker. If you're not a fan of Damian Lillard, because then you're not paying attention. Now, I know you're fans of teams and things of that nature. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a Philadelphia 76er fan. Huge win by them on Thursday night. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But I can be a fan of individual players. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a fan of Damian Lillard. I just am. I mean, what that young man was able to do is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So shout out to him. And thank you for a great game last night. I mean, that was just a great game last night. Now, I know a lot of you all didn't see it. It ended at 1:35 this morning. At least that's when I looked at the clock. And I'm saying to myself, Dave, why are you up? But you know, it got so good, I couldn't go to sleep. I was trying to go to sleep, but I couldn't. I mean, big shot after big shot. Now look, you can't count Denver out. Denver was down 2-1 against San Antonio and ended up coming back and winning that series. So don't count Denver out, because I'm going to tell you, Nikola Jokic, that's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. Denver's got a team. Denver might be, if all things stay the same, Denver might be the next Golden State. Now, they've certainly got to get some more people in there. They've got to do a little better job playing defense. But the Denver Nuggets might be the next Golden State. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a big man. I mean, look, I like Giannis. But when you see what Jokic is doing, when you see what he's doing, you're like, whoa, he's 7 foot. He's 250 pounds. See, that's really the best way. And he can hit the three. But what we saw with Jokic last night and what we've seen this whole year, if we're going to transform what the big man should be, then Jokic is the way they should be. You shouldn't be running out to the three-point line if you're 7 foot just to hit three-pointers. You still need to have an inside game. And Jokic has an inside game. He will post you up and abuse you around in the paint. See, I don't buy this analytic stuff. It's better to take a 3 than a 2. Give me a break. It's better to hit buckets. That's what it is. It's better to hit them buckets. And Jokic was hitting them all kinds of way last night. He's a bad boy. So if you missed that game last night, I'm sorry. You missed a doozy. You missed a doozy. So let me tell you why I'm a huge fan of Damian Lillard. So after game, 2? One of the reporters walked up to him and asked him about pressure. Here's what he said. Pressure? Nah, fam. This is just playing ball. Pressure is the homeless man who doesn't know where his next meal is coming from. Pressure is the single mom who is trying to scuffle and pay her rent. We get paid a lot of money to play a game. Don't get me wrong, there are challenges. But to call it pressure is almost an insult to regular people. Wow. That's Damian Lillard. I'm a fan of Damian Lillard. Because Damian could have left Portland a long time ago. He refuses to leave Portland. Yeah, it's a small market. Yeah, it's on the West Coast. You don't hear much about Damian Lillard at all, unless it's the playoffs. But you're going to hear about him now. You're definitely going to hear about him now. Heck of a game last night. I'm sorry you missed it. 855-525-5683 is the number. If you want to weigh in on some of the things, Millsap last night, I mean, look, you had these guys were scoring. 140, 137, quadruple overtime, Portland over Denver. Now, look, this series is going 7. It's going 7. Denver now has to win. Talking about a must-win game for game 4. You're going to have to come back and win this series. I thought Denver was going to lose to San Antonio, but they didn't. They were able to battle back. But Portland is the real deal, and there are a lot of people who are predicting Portland is going to go to the Western Conference Finals and are going to give Golden State all they can handle. We'll see about that. The other game last night was Boston against Milwaukee. Now, if you followed the show, you know I've talked a little bit. I tell you what, let's do this. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll get into the Boston Milwaukee game last night. Okay? Because I got something to say about Kyrie. In fact, I got something to say about all you wannabe leaders. And Kyrie is a classic example of what I'm going to say. Y'all stick and stay, don't go away. You're listening to the weekly sports magazine on joynetradio.com.
In your home. Package deals just in time for the holidays. Our first bundle starting at $5.98. Perfect for a dorm room. Bundle deal 2, only $15.99. Enough to fill your first apartment. And fill your home with our third bundle starting at only $24.99. Come get these deals while they last. Special pricing going on now through the end of the year. Celebrate this holiday season with something new from Bedrock Mattress and More. 3901 South University in Little Rock.
Check out our new arrivals at Butler Furniture Depot. Sofa, sectional, bedroom set, pump sets, as well as home appliances now.
You get a finance! You get a finance! Everyone gets a finance!
No credit check plan will not get the same as cash. Let Butler Furniture Depot be your one-stop shop. Our 562-8333 for their rent.
Who done it? Butler done it. Butler Furniture Depot.
Hi, I'm attorney Theodore Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matters. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Theodore Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
I'm so glad I found the Kick Above. It's like my very own personal training studio. A Kick Above removed the guesswork and intimidation and offered me a very supportive and structured environment specific to my personal goals. Kim Leverett and her certified personal trainers even offered nutritional guidelines for my personal workout. It's about me at a Kick Above. Call 501-868-8850 or go to akickabove.com. Now, what am I wearing tonight? Thanks to a Kick Above, I look marvelous.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas in Clark County since 1966. At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral is a celebration of life and legacy, so the entire staff takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional services they provide. Cremations, funeral planning, burial policy, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better. Call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we're needed. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's Black Focus. Well, it's the weekly sports magazine. It's not Black Focus Radio. Here on joynetradio.com. Still trying to get, I really think, I'm going to be honest with you, this Twitter feed thing, it's really this device. This is an old Samsung tablet. I've had this thing almost since they came out with the Samsung, and it's time to get a new one. That's part of the problem with trying to stream with this device. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. But we spent a lot of time talking about the NBA game last night, the quadruple overtime with the Portland Trail Blazers and the Denver Nuggets. And all right, we're making progress here. Okay, let's hit the go live button. You can go out to @weeklysportsmag on Twitter and catch the show there as well. Okay, so we doing our thing. Let me just find a place to put my monitor here. Okay, because this one has to be powered, because the battery is almost dead. Okay, so that should work right there. Well, I thought it was going to work, but it just died on me again. Let's try it again. All right. So anyway, while we're getting that together, the other game last night was the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Boston Celtics. The Celtics go down 2-1, or they're 1-2 in this series. And there's a problem. I know everybody wanted to say how great Brad Stevens was. Kyrie scores 29. Jason Tatum, who has been basically averaging 4 points He finally steps up and he has a double-double, 20 and 11 last night. But you notice this team just hadn't been the same. Terry Rozier, who is non-existent. This team just hasn't been the same as it was last year. We saw that throughout the entire regular season. Now we're seeing it more on a regular basis. What's going on here? You know who it is? It's amazing how people want to attack LeBron and point out all the things why a team is going wrong. Remember when Kyrie left Cleveland? Remember that? And everybody went after LeBron, and then, y'all talked about how great Kyrie was, and he's this and he's that, and, it's LeBron's fault. There's an old saying, you can't serve two masters. Well, Kyrie, you ain't a leader. It's pretty clear of that. We've talked before on this show where Kyrie has went back and talked to, sent LeBron an email and said how sorry he was for not understanding what he was going through. Man, leadership is rough. It's not easy. I think I have good leadership skills, but I'm going to tell you, you get tired of people putting you up. Every time something comes up, let Dave do it. Dave will do it. Dave can do it. And sometimes you want to say, man, I don't want to do it. But if you're a leader, you step up and you do it. You show everybody else that, hey, this can be done. See, Kyrie is a scorer. He's not a leader. And now that he's come back, this team is worse than it was last year. Now, it was a good team last year. But think about it. It went to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think they're going to get out of this round. I think Milwaukee's going to win this. At least the East. It's going to be fun to see Philadelphia and Milwaukee. I know what you're saying, but Dave, what about Toronto? We'll talk about them here in a moment. But this is going to be fun. But even though Kyrie, look, think about it from this perspective. You're the point guard. I mean, what's the difference in Kyrie Irving and what's his name for Oklahoma City? Russell Westbrook. What's the difference? Last night, here's Kyrie. You're the point guard. You have the ball more than anyone else. How is it that a guy coming off the bench has almost just as many assists as you do? Now, see, I know y'all get caught up in Kyrie's handles and his shot making and all that other stuff. But when you look at Kyrie's boxes, look at Kyrie's box. Kyrie had 29 points last night, 3 rebounds, and as your starting point guard, he had 6 assists. Now, he had more assists than anyone else, but guess what? Al Horford had 5. Gordon Hayward had 5. Your starting point guard cannot, see, we've gotten so caught up in this shot making stuff, okay? We've gotten so caught up in this shot-making stuff that we're forgetting basic basketball. We've gotten so caught up in analytics that we're forgetting basic basketball. And that's what's happening. Just pounding the rock. We don't even care about assists anymore. We don't care about the basic fundamentals of basketball anymore. We just want to see a guy hit a tough shot. See, this is why you have to judge great players on what they do in the playoffs. Because, see, Kyrie got his head big after they came back and won that championship via LeBron. Because I've always said that what did Kyrie do prior to LeBron getting to Cleveland? Not a damn thing. So if Kyrie was that great, yeah, he hit the clutch shot to win the game, the championship, but it was because of LeBron. It wasn't because of Kyrie. So, but the hate is so much for LeBron because of what he stands for that everybody wants to discount his impact on a game. As I said to you earlier, the NBA ratings are down 15%. Why is that? These are basically the same teams that were in it last year. You got some great superstars on the East and the West. But the ratings for the playoffs are down 15%. Why is that? What are we missing here? What are we not seeing here? I'll tell you what we're missing, and I'll tell you what we're not seeing. We're not seeing that guy named LeBron. LeBron is the league. In fact, the overall ratings for the league is down. You know why? Because LeBron is not playing anymore. He played in the West. And because those games don't start until 9 o'clock sometimes, the majority of the viewers don't get to see LeBron play. The NBA couldn't have been happy about LeBron going to the West Coast. Because look at their ratings. Look at their playoff ratings. LeBron is not there. You've got to directly tie that to the absence of LeBron. Down 15%. But you all say, oh, LeBron. Now, here's why. Because you got the people tuning in that love LeBron. You got the people tuning in that hate LeBron. That want to see him lose. Okay? And then you got the people that are in the middle. Where they don't care if he wins or loses. They just like seeing him play. That's what LeBron brought to the table. Down 15%. And Kyrie is about to be kicked out in the second round of the playoffs because he thought he was just as good as LeBron. No, you're not. In fact, there's no one in the league that carries the cachet that LeBron James does. Nobody. I heard a national sports talk show host yesterday. Was it Papa Joe? I don't think it was Papa Joe Chevalier. I don't think it was. But yesterday evening, I was tooling across the city, popped on a national sports show, CBS Sports, and he suggested that LeBron was probably no longer in the top 10 as far as great players. And what I'll say to him is he's a damn idiot. LeBron had a bad year because he was injured. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, see, he's getting old. He's finally getting injured. Guy ain't been injured in what? He's been in the league, 17 years? Never been injured. So he gets one injury, and the first thing people say, oh, see, he's getting old. I'm willing to bet you LeBron James is going to be back with a vengeance next year. But I digress. I'm sorry. I was talking about Milwaukee and Boston. Giannis Antetokounmpo, you learn better how to pass out of the. If you develop the passing skills that Nikola Jokic has, man, you be a beast. I mean, right now we're seeing two big men in the playoffs. Jokic is one, Antetokounmpo is another, and we cannot forget about Joel Embiid. Who are you idiots saying that big men can't play in the post anymore? Are you seeing what these guys are doing? Yeah, they've got a jump shot. Yeah, they hit a three every now and then. But, man, they dominating in the paint. Especially Embiid and Antetokounmpo, because what they're doing is that they're playing defense. Now, Jokic is not that great of a defensive player. He's pretty good at 7 foot. But he's not animated on defense like Antetokounmpo and Embiid are. Those are big men. So do you still need to play back to the basket? I think so. That type of game will never go away. I don't care what analytics say. I don't care what these newfangled basketball coaches say. You give me a 7-footer, and if I can't coach a 7-footer, then I should not be coaching. You give me a skilled 7-footer, and I can't be successful with him, I shouldn't be coaching. And that's any of these coaches out here. But see, what we've fallen for is a 3-point shot. We've bought hook, line, and sinker that mess from the analytics folks. That a 2-point shot, a 3-point shot, a missed 3-point shot is better than a hit 2-point shot, which is the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my life. This is one of those situations. I had a coach growing up who used to always say statistics are for losers. This is a classic example of that. We get so caught up in statistics that we don't use common sense. You know, I love Mr. Spock, but you know what really used to make that duo of Kirk and Spock, and of course the trio of Bones, is that Spock was the logician. Kirk and Bones, especially Kirk, went on feeling. Spock didn't understand that because logic dictates that if I take a 3-point shot, it's better than taking a 2-point shot. Well, not necessarily. That's where you go on feeling. If that was the case, we ought to just line all 5 guys up around the 3-point line and have them shoot 3-pointers. Maybe that's what we ought to do. I don't know. But I tell you, this is not making any sense whatsoever. You got guys under the basket. You got guys that could make a layup and they will kick it out for a 3-point shot. I don't understand that logic. Whatever happened to a bird in hand is better than 2 in the bush? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just not used to the newfangled basketball. But this is a mess. You're scoring a lot of points, that's for sure. But that's about it. That's about it. But Kyrie, it's pretty clear you're not a leader. And those of you who call yourself a leader, it takes more than just being able to hit a shot. It takes more than look, I've seen where some of the best players have no leadership skills. Just because you're the best player on the court doesn't mean you're a great leader. Okay? I'm just being real with you. Just because you are the best player on the court does not make you a great leader. And we're seeing that. Russell Westbrook is another player who doesn't understand leadership. People are beginning, my son is a big Russell Westbrook fan. The other day when we were talking, he's finally beginning to get it with Russ. It's all about him. It's all about how many points I can score. It's all about how many rebounds I can get. It's about how many triple doubles that I can make. It's not about a team concept. We understand now why Kevin Durant left. And I'm going to talk about Kevin Durant in the next hour, because I got some things to say about him. Because everybody all of a sudden now is talking about him being the greatest player. I'm sorry. That dog don't hunt for me. I'll tell you why coming up in the next hour. We'll take a quick break, top of the hour break. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to the weekly sports magazine. I'm Dynamic Dave on JoyNetRadio.com.
This is attorney Danielle Walker from the Walker Law Firm. Are you drowning in debt? Is your debt becoming unmanageable? Are you struggling to make ends meet? It might be time to consider bankruptcy options. Call me at 501-374-1448 and let me provide you with the professional legal guidance and help protect you from foreclosure, harassing bill collectors, repossessions, wage garnishments, and more. I have a proven record of serving clients just like you for over 20 years.
Hey, Paul, how you doing, man?
Located downtown Little Rock at 323 Center Street, Suite 1020. Call today for a free, no obligation consultation. 501-374-1448. 501-374-1448. This is attorney Danielle Walker from the Walker Law Firm, and let me help you.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas in Clark County since 1966. At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral is a celebration of life and legacy, so the entire staff takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional services they
Time to get another tablet.
funeral plan, burial policy, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better. Call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we need it. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
Fill your home for the holidays with Bedrock Mattress and More. Bundle and save for every room in your home. Package deals just in time for the holidays. Our first bundle starting at $598. Perfect for a dorm room. Bundle deal 2, only $15.99. Enough to fill your first apartment. And fill your home with our third bundle starting at only $24.99. Come get these deals while they last. Special pricing going on now through the end of the year. Celebrate this holiday season with something new from Bedrock Mattress and More. 3901 South University in Little Rock.
Hi, I'm attorney Gilda Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matter. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Gilda Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
Sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those ring notes.
Yeah, we do have it all, and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
It's time for the weekly sports page with the dynamic David Coleman. Stay tuned for thrills, chills, and yes, spills. Oh yeah, and a whole lot of other great stuff. Call 855-525-5683. Tweet your questions at Dynamic Sports PA or Facebook. Drop a line on Dynamic Weekly Sports Show. Sit back, relax, and groove while Dynamic drops sports in your ear hole. Now here's Dynamic David Coleman.
All right, welcome back to the show. I'm just wrapping up the basketball talk. Of course, quadruple overtime last night with the Denver Nuggets and Portland Trail Blazers. I know many of you all weren't up to see it. I also stayed up and watched the IMF track meet as well, so I'm a huge track fan. I tell you what I'd love for Little Rock to do. Since you're not going to get a NFL or NBA or one of those big franchises, boy, if you've modeled yourself and made yourself into a track city, man, you get all kinds of international support. I'm just saying, dude. You know, you can participate in professional sports. It's easy to do. You can participate in professional sports. You just got to think outside the box. So you know you're not going to get an NBA team because Memphis is right up the street, an hour and a half away. You're not going to get an NFL team because you've got Jerry Jones who's hoarding this entire market. And then you've got New Orleans. You're within driving distance of 6 hours of an NFL team. The NFL, that's kind of how they look at it. You're definitely not going to get a Major League Baseball team because you're not going to be able to financially support it. None of them. That's the other thing they look at is your income. How much money are your folks making in your city and surrounding areas? You don't have a metropolitan area which is close to 1 million people. They look at that too, by the way. So you got to start thinking, well, okay, if I want, look, we are strategically placed smack dab in the middle of the continent. What could we do that will increase our national brand? And that would be a sports team. So you've got a couple of options here. I think hockey would survive here. Believe it or not. I really do. I think hockey would survive here real well. But there are some other sports that are growing, like soccer. Nashville just got a soccer team. That's one place to look. Another is track and field. If you built a track and field facility where it hosted international games on a regular basis, 1, 2 a year, where you draw some of the great athletes, because I'm going to be honest with you, I think the best athletes in the world are track and field athletes, particularly track athletes. The reason I say that is because you don't have a team. You're on a track team, but your job is individual. I'm on the USA track team, but my job is to run the 100-meter dash. Nobody else on my team, the shot putter can't help me. The pole vaulter can't help me. When it comes time for me to run that 100-yard dash, that's all on me. Or any other event in that sport. So I think it would be great. I'm telling you, folks. But I digress. A couple other notes. On Thursday night, the Philadelphia 76ers beat the Toronto Raptors. Can you say Dwayne Casey? The trade that they made, the Raptors, and then the firing of Dwayne Casey. Remember, they got rid of Rosen? The firing of Casey, because Dwayne Casey is the one that built Toronto to where they are today. But guess what? They're about to be bounced again. Because I'm going to tell you, if Embiid plays the way he's been playing, he was sick the first 2 games. They split it. Let me say that again. Embiid was sick the first 2 games and they split with Toronto. You would tend to believe, and by the way, in game 2, he comes down and hits a big bucket. So you would tend to believe that Toronto will be 2-0 right now. They're not. Then Thursday night, Embiid is feeling better. He's 32 and 10, 33 and 10. Jimmy Butler scores 22. J.J. Redick, 15. In fact, the entire starting lineup was in double figures. And we're beginning to see that Toronto has no bench. Remember that talk everybody said, oh, Marc Gasol is doing this on Embiid. Marc Gasol is doing that to the Embiid. I think Embiid the other night said, hey, take this, Mark. I got you, dog. Here's 33 and 10 for you. 9 of 18 from the field. 3 of 4 from the three-point line. Now notice what I just said here. 12 of 13 from the free throw line. Yeah, Embiid shot 4 3-pointers. But those fouls came when he was inside handling the ball. Again, I don't know what you coaches are teaching these big men. Yeah, have them incorporate a jump shot in their game. They should have one. But right now, the way this game is being played, if you are a 7-footer, you ought to be able to feast inside. Because no one, just like they're not teaching post offense, they're certainly not teaching post defense. I remember back in the day when there was a guard called inside, that was dinner for a big man. Now you're seeing these little guards, they are swapping, they're switching as far as the defense is concerned. And these little guards are getting caught inside all the time. And these teams don't go inside for the big man. In part because the big man don't know how to post up. If you go back and you remember the Arkansas Razorbacks this past year, part of the reason that they were not successful with Daniel Gafford is because those guys, their ball handlers, didn't know how to feed the post. Feeding the post is an art form. They didn't know how to feed the post. Daniel Gafford should have been fouling people. Or here's the other thing. Daniel Gafford will be inside on one-on-one, and you got somebody like Isaiah Joe or anybody coming down and shooting up a three-pointer. Don't even look inside. Oh, it's my time to take a shot. I'm going to take a shot. Don't care. Look, are you concerned about your shot? Or are you concerned about winning? And that's what you're beginning to see in a lot of these NBA guys, is that they're more concerned about their numbers, their stat line, as opposed to winning a game. Therein lies the problem. Because these big men today, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, these guys are the real deal. The offense, in fact, Denver is doing what they need to do. It's to the point now, Jokic, he touches the ball every possession. The offense does run through Jokic. The offense ought to run through Joel Embiid. That's just the bottom line on that. The offense ought to run through Giannis Antetokounmpo. Every time down, they ought to touch the ball. But you don't see this. And even if you're in the college ranks, the offense ought to run through your big man. Every time down, he should get a touch. I don't care how hot little God is. I don't care how hot Kyrie Irving is. When you go back and you look at the great NBA teams, those teams that won championships, I would say sans the Chicago Bulls, but the majority of them had some pretty damn good big men. Just go back and look. Even the Detroit Pistons. I mean, you look at Bill Laimbeer. He wasn't the typical post-up type guy, but Laimbeer was a damn good defensive player, and he could hit a clutch shot when he needed to. Go back and look. I'm sitting here now as I go back in my mind. I'm trying to think. I'm as far back as I can remember when I really first started following the NBA. I'm just thinking here. Wow, that just brings up an interesting point here. So let's see. NBA champs. And I'm just going to do it in my era because we know some of the other, in the earlier eras, they all had big men. We won't even get into Wilt. Okay? But I'm just going to do a quick, let's kind of work our way back a few years. So starting with Golden State, they didn't really have great big men. Neither did Cleveland when they won it. So when we started in 2013, 2014, the San Antonio Spurs, well, Tim Duncan, David Robinson. Miami won it a couple of years. Dallas, Nowitzki, Lakers, Shaq. The bottom line is you got to have a big man. And you got to have a big man who knows what he's doing. Okay? By the way, Kyrie, how's that leadership thing going for you? Everybody can't be a leader. It's hard. It is. It's hard. Now, quickly, let me talk about Kevin Durant before I leave the NBA talk. Because this is important. You know, remember what I've been saying about leadership? See, so everybody now is saying Kevin Durant is this great leader, this great player. Well, here's the problem I have with that. Okay? Kevin Durant went to a team that was already winning championships. That little dust up that he and Green had this year. What did he say? Well, we were winning championships before you got here. We didn't need you. Now, some might argue that they need him now. But before you tell me that Kevin Durant is the best player, I'm sorry, I can't buy that. I can't buy it. Because you were on a team that was up 3-1 and you end up losing. Where was your leadership then, Kevin Durant? In fact, I think you're a punk. I think you're weak. I think you saw the easy way out and went to Golden State because you felt like that you're not a leader. Look, a real leader, look, you know, you heard me talk about Kyrie earlier. At least Kyrie said, hey, look, I can go to another team and prove to you all that I can win a championship. Now, he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it. But the point I'm trying to make to you is Kyrie is not a leader. Half of these guys who want to claim leadership, they're not leaders. Just because you can score a lot of points doesn't mean you're a leader. Leadership is tough. Sometimes you've got to sacrifice your game in order to lead. Y'all get that, right? You might be the best player. But in order to make sure that everybody else on that team is doing what they need to do, sometimes you got to take a step back and let them step forward. That's leadership. See, I talk all the time on my show during the week. We have no leadership in Little Rock because they're too busy trying to say that they're leaders as opposed to doing things that leaders do. Oh, that's a big difference. So when I go and join another team who is already winning championships, when I go and join another team that doesn't need me, and just because I'm a good player, all of a sudden you want to say I'm the best player? No, you're not the best player. Let me tell you what Shannon Sharp said about Kevin Durant. If Kevin Durant were to join the Atlanta Hawks and get them to the NBA Finals, then come talk to me. I agree. I totally agree. Kevin Durant, go join another team. Don't stay at Golden State. Go join another team. Okay? Go join the other team and let's see you take that team to the championship. Let's see you take that team to the playoffs like LeBron did. Everybody wants to say now he's better than LeBron. No, he isn't. When was the last time you saw Kevin Durant take any team anywhere? He happens to be on a team now where everybody is great shooters. So yeah, he can thrive. But he's not a leader. And he's certainly not the best player in the league. Look, he's certainly a dynamic. I'm not taking anything away from his shot making. But what I want to see in Kevin Durant is you leave Golden State and you go to a team and lead them to a championship. Before you say you better than LeBron, you need to do that. Okay? Before you say you're better than LeBron James, in fact, before you say you're the best player, because look at Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, I don't know if Milwaukee's going to win a championship, but I think they're going to be in the finals. That's leadership. That's a great player. Look at Nikola Jokic. That's leadership. He's a great player at 24. But instead of you, Kevin Durant, saying, hey, look, I think I'm a great player. Yeah, I'm going to leave Oklahoma City. And I'm going to go to Sacramento. You didn't do that, Kevin Durant. And you're not a damn leader. So I'm hoping, and I'm so glad Shannon Sharp made that point, because I've been saying that from the jump. Yeah, you can score buckets. Yeah, you're a bad man. You 6'10", you got a heck of a shot, but you're not a leader. And you're not the best player in the NBA. Because, see, the bar has been set now. When you start talking about the best player of an era, what did that player do? That player took a team that was a ragtag bunch of fugitives. And not only did he do it, he did it twice. And took them to the playoffs and won championships with them. Well, at least one of them. So, Kevin Durant, you're not the best player in the league. You're not better than LeBron. Sorry. Let's see what you do. You're coming up on free agency. Let's see what you do this year. Are you going to stay with Golden State? Or are you going to leave? Everybody thinks you're going to New York or the LA Clippers. Wherever you go, Kevin Durant, I expect that team, if you are as good as LeBron, I expect that team to be in the finals. I'm not going to even put the pressure on you as far as winning the finals. I expect whatever team that Kevin Durant goes to next year, if he leaves, because I don't think he has the courage. I'm just going to be real with you. I don't think Kevin Durant has the courage to go to another team that he can try and lead, because he's not a leader. I think Kevin Durant is going to stay right there at Golden State, because that's his little cubby hole. He got people that he can play off of, because he's not a leader. He's a follower. He's a great player, but you have great players and then you have leaders. Leaders are usually great players also. And they do things other than things that show up in the box. Kevin Durant is a great player. He's not a leader. We're about to see that. He might end up winning the MVP again for the finals. That doesn't make him the best player. He might very well end up winning the MVP for the finals again. But is he a leader? We're going to see at the end of this season. Where does Kevin Durant end up? Does he stay at Golden State? If he stays at Golden State, that says that he is a wimp. He's a hanger-oner. He can go and compliment someone else, but he can't lead. There are a lot of players. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. There have been a lot of complimentary players over the years. Look, the one that really jumps out to me that has more rings than anyone else? Robert Ory. Big Shot Bob. I'm just saying. Don't get mad at me if you're a Kevin Durant fan. Because I'm not buying Kevin Durant. I'm just not. I'm not buying it at all. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. We're going to talk. All right, we're going to take another quick break. Got to pay the bills. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to the Weekly Sports Magazine. I'm Dynamic Dave on joynetradio.com.
The law offices of James F. Swindoll provides our clients the personal care and attention that larger law firms cannot offer. Our experienced attorneys have brought hundreds of cases to verdict in state and federal court and recovered millions for our clients. If you or a loved one have been injured or have property wrongfully damaged, we may be able to help. Do not hesitate to contact our firm anytime for a free attorney consultation. Call 1-800-848-1290. That's 1-800-848-1290. Or email inquiry.
Hey, good morning, Jack.
personal-injury.com. Our law offices are centrally located at 212 Center Street in Little Rock. That's the law offices of James F. Swindoll. Personal injury and products liability attorney serving Arkansas since 1977.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas to connect with a family-owned and operated service provider in Clark County since 1966. At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral is a celebration of life and legacy, so the entire staff takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional services they provide. Cremations, funeral planning, burial policy, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better. Call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we need it. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
Fill your home for the holidays with Bedrock Mattress and More. Bundle and save for every room in your home. Package deals just in time for the holidays. Our first bundle starting at $598. Perfect for a dorm room. Bundle deal 2, only $15.99. Enough to build your first apartment. And fill your home with our third bundle starting at only $24.99. Come get these deals while they last. Special pricing going on now through the end of the year. Celebrate this holiday season with something new from Bedrock Mattress and More. 3901 South University in Little Rock.
Hi, this is Alvin from Habibi's 4317 East Broadway in North Little Rock. We still have the green top at your very next stop. The same great service, but more out. Give us a call, 501-663-1553 or 664-2992, or call our toll-free number, 1-877-HABIBI-1. Diapers, pull-ups, hospital beds, wheelchairs, Simply Fit, diabetic supplies, underpads, and more. Your durable medical supply center.
All right, welcome back to the show. I know we've been NBA heavy this morning. I mean, I know a lot of people are not watching the playoffs, but I'm thoroughly enjoying them. I really am. There are a lot of side stories that are going on. It's going to be interesting. What does Kyrie do after if Toronto gets knocked out. What does Kyrie do? Is he going to stay in Toronto? Many people didn't believe that he would stay in Toronto anyway. But if he gets knocked out, what happens then? Is he gone, and where is he going? The rumors are like everywhere, okay? But that's going to be interesting. Also, they've been trying to decide who's going to be the next coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. I told you all a long time ago that even when Walton got hired, when Walton got hired, that he was out of his league. He wasn't ready to be an NBA coach. He proved that. Prior to even LeBron getting there, he proved that he wasn't ready to be an NBA coach. So don't try to pretend like it's LeBron's fault that Luke Walton no longer has a job at LA. He landed on his feet. He will prove my point because what? He's at Sacramento now? He's not going to do any better there. Watch what I tell you. Will Luke Walton help take Sacramento to the playoffs next year? No, because he's not a good coach. He got that job because of his daddy. Let's be realistic about that. Okay? Let's be realistic about that. But with that being said, there were two people that they were looking for, they being the Lakers, to try and, at least their first choice was Monty Williams. Monty Williams has decided to coach at Phoenix. Now, a lot of people say, well, you know, what does that say about Monty Williams deciding to coach at Phoenix as opposed to going to the Lakers? Not a damn thing. Nothing. Some people will postulate and say, oh, well, you know, see, that just shows you how dysfunctional the Lakers are now. Nobody wants to coach LeBron. No. It's amazing how the media, the white media, tries to paint everything as LeBron's fault. What we're seeing here is a subtle personal assassination of what I consider, or whom I consider, a great guy. That's what you're seeing here. Okay? That's what you're seeing here. But with that being said, it looks like Ty Lue is going to end up coaching the Lakers. I can hear talk shows now. See, that's what LeBron wanted in the first place. Okay. Say what you want to say. Say what you want to say. That's all I'm going to say about that. 855-525-5683 is the number. Let's see. Today in the NBA, we've got the Warriors and the Rockets. Speaking of lack of leadership, you know, if you're the best player in the league, then don't you have to be able to win a championship, James Harden? I'm tired of you regular season performers. Look, you can put up all the damn points you want. I don't care. If you can't perform in the playoffs, that's what makes championships. If you can't step up in the big game, that's what makes great players. I don't care if I don't care if you score 100. Will Chamberlain scored 100 points and they still lost that game. I don't care. I want to see rings. I want to see trophies, and not individual trophies. Your job as a player on a team is to lead the team, not pad your stats. James Harden. And you all are down 2-0. Are y'all going to beat Golden State? Or are y'all going to get swept? Because I hope you get swept simply because the talk about James Harden being a great player will diminish. I don't care what. Look, every year, what have we seen with James Harden? Even back in his Oklahoma City days. When the playoffs show up, James Harden withers on the vine. That's just a fact. When the playoffs show up, James Harden withers on the vine. So let's see what happens today. 7:30 tonight, ABC. Let's see if Houston can win a game. So that's the NBA talk for today. We've had a lot of that today. Look, I'm a huge NBA fan. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm even more so a LeBron James fan. And you know what? The playoffs do seem a little empty without LeBron. Don't they? Y'all got to admit, you may not want to admit it, but the playoffs seems a little empty without LeBron James. We're not, you're not saying, hey, let me go see what LeBron going to do tonight. Whether you were for him or against him, everybody was saying, let me go see what LeBron is going to do tonight. And the 15% decrease in ratings says what I just said, is that everybody misses LeBron. Okay? Everybody. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you want to call the show, if you want to get on the show. If you have something to say about sports, holler at the black man. Now, let me take a moment to talk a little bit of, hey, Mary Dancing Tiger Bear. Let me talk a little bit about this college scandal that's going on right now before our eyes. I know a lot of you all are not paying attention to it, but let me just talk a little bit about this this scandal. They put Memphis in the top 5? Wait a minute. Okay. So apparently, this money was going to everybody. It was going to football stars. It was going to basketball stars. It was going to a little bit of everybody. Okay? Now, Christian Dawkins who is part of this problem, he's been saying a lot. Now, of course, Arizona is the center of this problem, or players who were paid. But, I don't really care. At this point, if I were a booster, I'm going to be honest with you, and I had $10 million, and I wanted a particular kid to come to my school, I would pay him. Okay? I would pay him. Here's why. All the money that these coaches, when they asked Dawkins on the stand yesterday, do he think players ought to be paid? You know what he said? Yes. Because he's right. All of the money that is being generated by these players, and they get nothing. It's kind of like the horse racing. Those horses run their tails off, and some of them are dying on the track. See Santa Anita this year. I think they had at least 3 or 4 horses to die this year. And these coaches run these guys and run these guys and run these guys. These coaches laugh all the way to the bank. Look, you may not be making $9 million a year like John Calipari or Nick Saban at Alabama. But I'm going to tell you, if you're making just $1 million, let me take that back. If you're making $500K to coach a sport, a game, then you're sitting pretty good. While these players can barely eat. There's a story that I posted on my wall the other day about college students in general. Many of them go hungry. They don't have food. Shabazz Napier for Connecticut a few years ago told the story about, even though he was a scholarship basketball player, there were times he did not have food to eat. Now, you got to be a low-down so-and-so that you claim that you love a kid and you know that kid is hungry and you won't give him money to get something to eat. That's college sports today, folks. Now, I know for a fact that there were a lot of coaches who are giving kids money to eat, to do various things. You know, back in the day when I played at little bitty Magnolia, a $25 handshake was a nice handshake. Yeah, I'm saying it. There were boosters who would come up and, hey, Coleman, great game, slap your hand, $25. There were some other players who got that. I'm not going to call their names because I don't want to put them out there. But if they're listening to the show and you went to Magnolia during the time that I did, you'll know who you're talking about. We all know. We all knew. Because quite often, one player would get it and he would help feed us all. Hey, man, I got, Mr. So-and-so hooked me up. Let's go down to the Easy Mart. Let's go to McDonald's. Let's go get something to eat. That happened a lot. So Dabo Swinney is a little upset that Clemson has been mentioned in this game, in this court arena. As if you're holier than thou, Clemson. We know now that Duke, apparently, somebody paid Zion Williamson to go to Duke. Oh, God, not Coach K. Yeah, they're all guilty. When you're making all that money and you have players whom you go to their homes and you see how they live and you don't help those players out, you're a piece of crap. I don't care if I don't care if it is illegal. Sometimes, you remember that old saying, slavery used to be illegal too. You know what I'm saying? Just because the NCAA says you can't, don't mean it's right. And the NCAA is way out of touch. Way out of touch when it comes to this issue. They've been out of touch for decades. You send coaches into these depressed communities and you pull some of the best and the brightest out. And you don't care about where they came from. You don't care about mama who has to pay for 4 other kids. And that young man might have been working during the summer, helping to provide. Now that money is gone. How is she going to make that up? Some booster needs to come in and give her some money. Get her. I totally believe that. And what's going on right now with this trial about all this money, and I mean, there are different coaches being implicated, this, that, and the other. I'm going to be honest, man, I don't care. Dawkins was asked, does he think that paying players is illegal? He said no. Because these players need to be paid. If you really want to solve this problem, every player, because, see, here's the thing about it. If I'm a student at college, and I might have a partial scholarship, and believe it or not, there are a lot of football players who don't get full rides. They get partials. How are they going to make that? How do they make up the rest of the tuition? Some of them get work study in the off season. Some of them don't. Some of them leave college in debt. Because although they were on the football team, they've been getting half scholarships. That's why you see when these kids who have been on the football team, they get a full ride. That's just for 1 year. That's not for the entire year. Most of these colleges still don't pay you 4 years. At least they don't give you a scholarship for 4 years. If you really were serious about the education of these children, these young men, then you would give them a 4-year ride. Even when they get hurt. I heard someone talking about a player for Arkansas yesterday. And they were talking about he's been hurt off and on. And they were talking about, well, they're going to have to make a decision with him this year. So he got hurt with the Razorbacks. So now you said, oh, well, you can't play. It's time to kick you to the curb. I got to do something here. Let's do this. Which Division I colleges offers 4-year? What I'm doing here, because I've been hearing, and I listen to other sports shows, and I've been hearing that colleges are beginning to offer 4-year scholarships. By the way, I just typed up and just pulled up something. Check this out. U.S. colleges awarded nearly $4 billion in athletic scholarships in 2017. Now, that's money on paper, okay? And then, too, you got to realize that I'm just looking at the NCAA. Right now, I'm looking for a university. This is from scholarshipstatistics.com. I'm looking for a university that is offering a 4-year scholarship. That means that when you sign that letter of intent, that regardless of what happens, you're going to get 4 years of scholarship. Okay, let me check here. I'm looking at U.S. News. Here's myth one about a scholarship. This is from U.S. News and World Report. Everyone on scholarship gets a full ride. Only some sports offer full ride scholarships. These are called head count sports. Okay. I'm just looking here. So I'm gonna have to do better. I'll take some time off and do some more research on this. But I want to know what schools are offering 4-year scholarships. Okay, so here's an article by CBS Sports. It's entitled, "Schools Can Give Out 4-Year Athletic Scholarships, but Many Don't." Okay. I'm going to have to bookmark this because I want to read this. Okay? Let me just read a couple of graphs from this. Georgia wide receiver Chris Conley has become one of the most vocal advocates for college athletes' rights. So it's no surprise Conley says he views there being a huge difference between a 1-year scholarship and a 4-year scholarship for college players. But ask Conley how many years his scholarship has technically been during his career, and he hesitates. Conley admits he's uncertain. Some head coaches, such as Georgia's, and this article was written 2014. This is the latest article, and I'm going to do some more research, okay? The NCAA is in its 3rd academic year since passing a rule giving schools the option to provide multi-year scholarships. The idea is catching on at some schools, but it's virtually non-existent in others. Meanwhile, there's an active lawsuit nearing its class certification stage that in part seeks damages for Division I football players who were impacted by the NCAA rule banning multi-year scholarships. Okay? So here we are. So here's a list. Now, here are some schools that provide multi-year scholarships. Now, this was this was written in 2014, but there's not a lot of them on here. I don't see the Arkansas Razorbacks. I don't see Alabama. Let's see. Ohio State, Florida, Mississippi State, Florida State, Auburn, Michigan State. The point is that they can offer them, but they don't. They don't care to offer them because they know that if I offer you a 4-year scholarship, that scholarship counts on that's towards your what? 80 scholarships that you get? So what if that guy gets injured? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do more research on this, and this is going to be the subject matter for next week. How many schools are actually out there offering 4-year scholarships for athletics? How many of them actually are offering 4-year scholarships for athletics? And in a given year, how many do you offer? In other words, how many kids on your rosters today, basketball and football, because those are the only sports that we care about, how many kids on your campus today who are athletes have a 4-year ride? I'm curious to know. Because this whole trial is about paying athletes. And these athletes understand and know that they're not being treated fairly. And they're taking money. I don't blame you. Look, situations are now. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm an athlete. There's a calamity at home. I'm at ABC College. I'm being treated well. I'm eating, I'm going to school, I'm doing all of these things. I'm at ABC College. But at home, 500 miles away, my mom is about to be evicted. What can I do? Booster comes along and says, hey man, I know you're struggling. You had a great game. I'm going to give you, here's $1,000. You going to turn that down? Your mom and your 3 little brothers are at home about to be evicted. About to be evicted. They're about to be on the street. You're at college. You get 3, 4, 5 squares a day if you're an athlete, because now most of these colleges have special eating places for athletes. Booster shows up, who knows your situation, says, I know your mom is at home struggling. I'm going to give you $5,000. You going to turn that down? Hell no, you're not. So if the NCAA is really serious about this money problem, number one, you can't be serious about it if you're not going to pay these players. And I'm not saying give them a stipend of $400 to $500. Now, I know the argument that people like to make is that, well, what about the volleyball player? Well, how much money are you earning, volleyball player? How much money are you earning, baseball player? The award should be commensurate with the sport that you're in. So if football and basketball, we know basketball is earning $1 billion a year for the NCAA. So guess what? Division I basketball players are going to get the bulk of that money. They're going to be at the higher end. That volleyball player should just be happy with their scholarship. Because the reason you got that scholarship is because of that $1 billion that the basketball team is earning every year. So for instance, in the SEC, every SEC schools get at least $40 to $60 million a year for what that school earns the previous year, which is mainly football and basketball revenue. What about the gymnasts? How much money did they earn? Not a damn penny. So you don't deserve to get paid. Let's be realistic. There's a hierarchy in this country. Everybody don't get everything. If that's the case, I want the same money that Bill Gates has. But you know that's not realistic. There's a hierarchy. So this argument that everybody ought to be paid the same thing, no. Because some of these kids who are getting scholarships, you're getting scholarships based on the money that is being earned by football and basketball. And without that money being earned, those scholarships are not available. So no, you should not be being paid the same amount that a football player is being paid. And more importantly, let's take a football player. If I'm a starter If I'm an All-American, yeah, I should be paid more than the bench player. Even though he's on the team, he's going to get paid. But let's just say you're paying me $1,000 a month. He might get $200 a month. He should get something. That's how it should work. So with this trial going on, we know that Zion Williamson, at least it is alleged that Zion Williamson, his family took money. That's how he ended up at Duke. And I remember when he said he was going to Duke, I was kind of puzzled. How did he end up at Duke? We know now. It was never any doubt that Zion Williamson was going to go pro. Because most people talked about the fact that, hey, he's getting paid. And now we know there's been evidence to suggest that he was getting paid along with many other players. If the NCAA is serious about stopping this, the only alternative you have is to pay these players. You think people are stupid. You are earning $1 billion a year. That $1 billion will kick in. It's already kicked in and will last at least until 2032. And you think that these guys are so stupid that they don't understand that billion. You think these guys are so stupid that they don't talk amongst one another. You think these guys are so stupid that when they see Coach driving that nice car, they don't realize that we're the ones that's the reason he's got it. Or when they go to his house for a picnic or an outdoor barbecue, them players don't realize that they are the reason why that coach lives in that nice house. So when John Q. Booster walks up to me and says, hey, son, I love the way you ran that touchdown. You're just a great player. And he shakes my hand and there's $500. I don't blame that young brother for taking it. He's not doing anything illegal. That's called self-preservation. And I would argue that every player, that if you get the opportunity and someone walks up to you and they offer you some money, take it. Because in part, that's your money. In part, the reason that that school is doing as well as it is because of you. Isn't that right, Alabama and Nick Saban? Isn't that right, John Calipari at Kentucky? Isn't that right, Dabo Sweeney at Clemson? So you shouldn't be upset, Dabo. You shouldn't be concerned, Dabo. You making big money. Those poor little black players aren't making jack. Their families are at home struggling. Many of those kids come from projects, housing developments. So take your money, young brother. And more importantly, if you get good enough to go pro, stop talking about loyalty to these colleges. These colleges have no loyalty to you. You break your ankle and can't play, you'll get to see just how loyal that college is going to be to you. Hello? You get caught smoking a joint, you'll see just how loyal those colleges are going to be to you. So there's no reason. Look, a college is just like a job. You go to that job because they are paying you. The moment they start paying you, you out the door. So when it's time to clock out, they're not paying you past 5 o'clock. What are you doing? In fact, you're camping around the time clock. So these colleges ain't taking care of you. Look, just because they feed you, that's what they do to these damn horses. They feed these horses. They got them in a nice little paddock. They brush them, they wash them. When they get sick, they call a doctor. But when that horse breaks his leg on the track, trying to win money for Massa, guess what happens? He's put down. Or better still, he's killed. He's glue. Hope you enjoyed the show. Real Talk, Real Money coming up here in a little bit. You're listening to the Weekly Sports Magazine. Don't forget to catch Black Focus Radio Monday through Friday, noon to 2 p.m. right here on these same great stations. JoinNetRadio.com.
Thanks for listening to the Weekly Sports Page with Dynamic David Coleman.
Nice rides. Ice cream. Alert. 654 Jose.
Tune in every Saturday morning from 9 to 10.
96 double. 96 double. Check out what a player.
Until next week.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas to connect with a family-owned and
Thanks for listening, y'all. Have a great day.